We are live. All
We are
right.
live, yes. And because it's not showing on my screen, it just kind of froze here. Now we're here on my screen for some reason. And Sophie, I'm going to take care of this for you. And so I want to welcome everybody to today's episode of Wisdom Cafe Live. Meet the author. I'm Bob Choat, or Dr. Bob Choat, as Sophie wants to call me, the Transformational Grandmaster. My beautiful co-host is Sofie Nubani, Dr. Sofie Nubani, the queen of laughter and wisdom. So, Sophie, how are you doing there on the East Coast there in Orlando, Florida?
Excellent. We had a lot of rain today, and it hasn't rained this heavy in a while in my area, so it was kind of cozy and nice for a little change. Everything is greener and cleaner.
You know, I wish we had that rain here, and I know that our guest is also dealing with this heat wave that we're having on the West Coast. So, Sophie, I'm going to pause you on mute your mic. So we're having this heat wave here in the Los Angeles area, and I know that our amazing guest, who I will be talking about here, introducing him, and he's out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and dealing with it as well. And this weekend we're going to have it extremely, extremely hot. So let me grab his information. So he's, by the way, this guy is so amazing. I read through his stuff, his website, his bio, and so much more in terms of what he's been able to do, his background, and we're going to hear more about that. But we want to hear about his book, because our guest, Regi Rodgers, is known as one of the top relationship coaches. And
the number one relationship coach.
Yes.
Please, let's correct that.
This guy knows he's come from the perspective. In fact, after reading about him, he's come from many perspectives when it comes to relationships. And he's going to get into that and give us a deeper understanding from those different areas. You know, I looked at him in terms of him being being involved, I believe, as a pastor. And he hails from, by the way, this from Philadelphia. You know, Rocky. Anybody who watches Rocky knows about the city of brotherly love. Perfect title for a relationship coach as well. And now, so he's gone from the city of brotherly love to Sin City. So that's a. I was trying to grasp that concept. So, and he's going to explain that as well. And so he can look at it from multi levels in terms of relationships. So he has a book, I believe it's just come out. He's that's out, and then he has another one that's coming out next year, and he can talk about that. But the book we're going to be talking about is Love at First Spirit, and I want to find out more about that. He has his own show. He's been on, I believe. Are you still on the radio in Charlotte? Yes. I believe. Regi?
Yes, I air every Wednesday on 87.9 Heat FM. Regi, the show is entitled Regi's Recess, where you get real talk about real relationships.
Fantastic. So not only is he a relationship coach, not only is an author, not only has he been involved in the dichotomy of the city of brotherly love and Sin City. This guy is a radio national radio host, and so much more. I mean, I could just go on and on, finding out more and more as I dig on these multiple layers of this amazing guy. But you know what? You want to know something? I want to get digging right in with the Regi Rodgers, the number one relationship coach and radio host and author and so much more. So, Regi, welcome to our show. And I'm
yes.
Well, it's definitely my pleasure to be a part of your great show, what you're doing. I think this platform is an amazing platform. And the two of you together, you guys just have such a chemistry. There's this thing that you guys have. I watch your show, Dr. Bob, just so you know, I watch it. And you guys have something that is what I call amazing. There's good synergy that vibes and it oozes out of both of your pores. So it's it's
I'm going to tell you, I got lucky. I got lucky with this one. I'm telling you. I mean, I could not do this without her. Her energy, her everything. It just takes me to the next level. So,
It's all about the intention of service. And thank you, Sir Regi Rodgers, for this beautiful compliment. It means a lot because we truly have this passion in serving many and highlighting paths of many amazing inspirational leaders and authors and speakers, and allowing our community and our media platforms also to connect with their brilliance and their contribution to humanity. And what you feel is a projection of this love of service. And when two people or more gather with that intention, what projects out is felt by the masses. And you can only fake things too little before people start finding things out. And when it's so consistent, because it's original and real, it's what you catch on and feel also demonstrates a lot of your qualities and your standards, because that's important to you. So you recognize those things in others. And just likewise, I have watched a few of your shows and even your radio shows as well. And I was very, inspired by a lot of the new ideas and things that you bring out. And I think it's really nice for us as a community of one big human family to really bring the strengths and the gifts of others, so those who need this transition and transformation happen in their lives, that they're able to know where to go to, or who to listen to, or be introduced to what services this platform offers. For example, you're a relationship coach, and of course, finances, health, and relationships are always on top of every stress and worry of many people. And it really makes or breaks households and individuals, including depression outside just intimate relationships, but relationship with self. And so what you're doing, Sir Regi Rodgers, is really beautiful, and that you're so focused and zoomed in that, and really always, the focus. And I see that you are also writing in amazing big magazines as well. I've read one of your articles, and I thought that was really very nice. And it's what people need: the word, the voice, and that's what inspires action. So welcome to Wisdom Cafe Live. See Regi Rodgers all the way from Las Vegas. We
You know,
are happy to have you, East and West Coast and Vegas. I mean, where can you go? Magical Disney World, LA, and I'm serious.
Dr. Bob,
Welcome.
Dr. Bob used that word dichotomy. It is certainly a dichotomy, Dr. Bob, because you go from the city of brotherly love and what we call, if you're from Philadelphia, we call it the city of brotherly love and the city of sisterly affection. So we can't leave the females out, brotherly love, sisterly affection, and then you leave all of that to go to the city of sin. Las Vegas, the city of sin. So, that it is, you use the proper terminology. It is a dichotomy. But, my mission was to weave consistency and some continuity in there so that it made sense. And so, our mission has been to really make the purpose make sense of why to go from one coast to the other coast. There had to be passion behind the purpose. And so, I love the word dichotomy. And so we're actually just weaving some consistency and some continuity so that it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. And we in Los Angeles, we love Philadelphia because we and you guys lost somebody who was a star here earlier this year.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Kobe.
Kobe.
Yes.
Kobe.
Kobe went to high school and he's from Philly, but he went to high school in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I got the privilege of watching Kobe, in high school as a high school
Oh.
basketball player, and I saw Kobe as a 10th grader in a summer league, and he played in the Sunny Hill Summer League. If you know anything about the Sunny Hill, that's where all the professionals play in the summer. He played on the Philadelphia 76ers team as a 10th grader, and that's the year that they had Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse was like the main man for Sixers. Well, as a 10th grader, I'm here to tell you, Dr. Bob, Kobe was the go-to guy as a 10th grader. You could see that he was head and shoulders above the guys who were already considered professionals, and you knew this kid had something very special.
Yes.
What identified that with his regular behavior outside athletic and sports to you?
What identifies the fact that he was special?
To you.
I think as diverse as Kobe was, because when you spoke with Kobe, not only did Kobe, he spoke like 3 different languages, and so I felt like Kobe had that spirit of being here before. He was well advanced for his age.
Old soul.
He definitely had an old soul. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that his father was a professional basketball player. So he understood the travel. He understood the lifestyle. He understood the commitment. He understood what it took to become, great at his craft. And but he didn't take his craft for granted. And I think that's something that we have to understand. Because you have something, that doesn't mean you take it for granted. Kobe worked hard to become the player that he ultimately was. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever play the game of basketball. But he worked very, very hard. Off season, he was working hard just as much as he was working during the season. And a lot of people who are gifted, sometimes we take our gifts for granted.
Correct. And he was a team player, and he challenged people on his team. One of the people I got to interview back in the mid '90s was Coach Wooden. So
Wow.
I was on the board of directors of an education foundation, and we invited him to talk, and I got to spend 30 minutes with him. So if you look over my shoulder here, you can see his picture. So that was one of the signed pictures that he gave me, and he also signed a piece of the old Poly Pavilion, the tile. So I got a signed tile from him as well. And
Nice.
So he told me about the importance of teamwork and what success really meant, so the team itself is the star, not the individuals and everything.
Not the individual. Correct.
And I think Kobe exuded that team. So it was all about the Lakers.
And I think that's the epitome of what Dr. Sofie was saying just a while back. With the platform that you all have, you utilize the platform to bring others so that others can soar. And then if others soar, we all soar, because there's no me without you, and there's no you without me. And we all make it work, and we all bring it together so that we create something dynamic. We create something fantastic. And I think one of the challenges for us as human beings is getting to that place where we can let go of what I consider being selfish, so that we understand what it means to be selfless. Because when we get to that place of understanding what it means to be selfless, then more doors begin to open. Because one of the questions that I'm always asked as a relationship coach is, how do you define, or how do you tell the difference between love and lust? And I always say it's a very easy answer. Love has to do with we. Lust has to do with me. So love is inclusive. Lust is singular with a singular mission. But love has more of what I call a corporate mission, because corporately that's more than one. we can do this together. So, we have to get beyond being selfish and understanding what it means to really be selfless. Then more doors can open. That's when you really have the quiescence or the building blocks for a great relationship.
Ah,
Mhm.
yes. Have you? So I'm going back to Coach Wooden because that's interesting. Uh, Coach Wooden met his wife Nellie when they were still teenagers. I think she was just a tiny bit younger than him, and they were really, really close. Even when he was playing basketball, because he played at Purdue. In fact,
Mhm.
he's the only person that's inducted into the the college basketball Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach, because he was actually considered the best player of his day in college. And but he didn't want to be a professional player. He loved teaching. He loved coaching. So he moved towards that area. But his wife Nellie stayed with him. They supported each other throughout the years, and she always had a seat at his basketball game. He had this is her seat, Nellie, or even on the road, this is her seat, and so she was always with him. And then
He honored her a lot.
he honored her in every single way. So when she passed away,
Okay.
he kept that seat open for her after.
Aw.
And every month on the anniversary, the day of her passing, he placed a love letter on a pillow next to him.
Aw.
And he
Wow.
did it every single month for 25 years until he passed away. He kept the
Oh,
staff
wow.
moved up.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah.
would those letters remain in that place until the next year when he would put another letter and he'd remove the letter from the year before, or would all the letters just accumulate? How did that happen?
Accumulated, yes.
They accumulated. Wow.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's a good question.
So,
Say Reggie. Yeah.
yeah, so when you look at something like that, I know that when we think about that kind of love and everything and
The
the relate,
quality and the
it seemed
loyalty.
like that was the honor that they both had with each other as we.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Yes. I mean, and that's very, very important because everything that you're saying as it relates to life parallels, there are parallels that we could take into, relationships between a male and a female. Now, we were talking about sports, but as you see how we transitioned from sports to Wooden and his wife into a relationship. So everything in regards to life parallels even into relationships. Doesn't matter what it is. You talked about the team aspect of, Kobe being the head guy, but Kobe discovering that he couldn't do it without the others because it took 5 of the guys on the floor and then the other that were remaining on the bench in order to build this championship team. And I think when we understand that dynamic, that there is more than me in this relationship, we got to go down to ground zero to really start to get the rudiments of how this builds. Because we talked about Kobe being in high school, and I said he had something special then, but I also said he worked and he worked and he worked in order to develop his talent. Well, the basis of all relationships, you'll hear me say this quite often, is self. Because I cannot have a great relationship with anyone until I first understand what it takes to have a great relationship with myself.
I
When I
agree.
get to that place of understanding what it takes to have a great relationship with me, so I must get along with me, and to my own self, I have to be true. So I have to discover what becomes a fit for me. I have to discover what works for me. What do I allow in my energetic space so that once I allow it into my energetic space, we can now create some synergy. And so it's a development, it's a process, it's a trial and error. See, life happens like this. People don't, there are 3, what I call 3 modules to life. The three modules to life is learning, earning, and turning. Those are the three modules how we progress in life. So learning looks like this. They say that we learn through observation. That means we watch and we see what works and what doesn't work. So we learn through observation, we observe. And then we learn through experimentation. That means trial and error. We try and we see what's working and what's not working. So we go from observation to experimentation till we get to that place of maturation. Okay, so I've watched, I've tried. Now I'm seeing what becomes a fit for me. So I am maturing now and I'm starting to learn who I really am. So I am maturing into myself. I'm coming into myself now. So that's that maturation stage. That's that maturation process. So we're learning. But then we get to that place of what I call earning. Earning is in a relationship is I've learned you. I've taken the time to get to know you. So now you've earned my trust, and I hope it's reciprocal. I've earned your trust because it's been a process of learning each other. We've learned, I've watched, we've learned, I've experimented, and now we've hung in there enough time so that we are now growing together. As we have continued to go, we've also continued to grow. So we have grown together. So now we're in that place of earning. Now, if we take earning to life, life for most is the earning what we make monetarily. That's the earning process of life. But in the relationship process, it's the earning of trust. So everything that life has, it parallels into our personal relationships. And so we ultimately get from that learning to the earning to the turning. So the turning is we turn away from things that just not behoove us anymore. We turn away from things that are not advantageous for us anymore. We turn away from things that are not beneficial to us because we understand the things that are detrimental to us. So now we don't want to go there. Been there, done that, because we did that in the experimental stage. Now we don't want to go back in this stage. So been there, done that. So we're turning from there. And now if we take it into the relationship, we have been in an experience, we've experimented enough to now begin to understand so that we've matured into the place of knowing that is not the type of person for my life. That type of person is just not going to work for me. That's just not a fit for me. So instead of wasting so much time, because time is our biggest commodity. And if time is our biggest commodity, that means as we continue to grow in these modules, and we're in that stage of now, we went from the learning, the earning to the turning stage. So now we're in that stage, we realize that time is our biggest commodity and we don't have a lot of time to waste anymore. We can't go back and get that time back. We wasted a lot of time in the experimental stage when we were observing and experimenting to get to that maturing stage. So now we're turning, and hopefully we can embrace what we have now discovered and detect that becomes a fit for us. See, everything that you talked about, Dr. Bob, as it relates to the Professor John Wooden, because he was definitely a professor on the court. I mean, his concepts, his principles, what he taught, people are still now, teaching those concepts and principles. These coaches, they're still going and they're still reading his material.
He's very deep.
Because he was such a professor as it related to his concept to bring this team, what it took to make a team. I mean, that's why he had the longest winning streak in college history, right? With UCLA.
Yes, at UCLA. He won 10 championships, which is unheard of. He went through, I believe it was 100 straight games where he didn't lose one game. And when you think about NCAA basketball, you don't hear about that now.
No, you don't
hear about that. Whether he went through all these years and winning and you don't hear teams winning like that anymore, especially winning 10 NCAA championships in a 12-year period. That's pretty amazing. And I love the way you put the aspect of relationships, and it can be a romantic relationships, a personal, a friendship, a sports team, everything what you said, going through the learning, and then the earning, and then the turning.
Maturing.
For example, going back to Kobe Bryant, he stayed with one team in the in the NBA, and that was the Los Angeles Lakers. So he went in there and he was doing the learning, and
Yeah.
then the turning as he matured. But he stayed with that because he earned the trust, and they earned the trust of Kobe back and forth, and the relationship just blossomed. And you don't hear about a person staying in the NBA on one team their whole career. You just don't hear about that. But they had a powerful relationship, and so it can be in sports. And again, I said romantic relationships, relationships, and otherwise. And I see even in business, a lot of the ones that don't follow those principles, what you just said, they tend to self-destruct.
Yes.
And so you lose those principles. Anybody that listens, if you're running a business, these are perfect, especially in relationship building within a business environment as well as your own love life and otherwise. So
they're great. They're great building blocks because, everything in life, I tell people all the time that, you can use these as building blocks, which means you use them as a stepping stone or a stumbling block. If you use it as a stumbling block, you get in that process of learning, you're going to find yourself next year in the same position you were this year because you're not taking the time to really advance because you're not learning. It becomes lip service. It's like insanity. They say insanity is you want different results, but yet you're doing the same old thing. So if you want a different result, you have to be willing to say, okay, wait a minute. What did I learn? Let's figure this out. Last year I tried it this way. And this was my result. How about if we make some modifications and tweak it a little bit, change it just a hair, and then let's see what kind of results we get if we tweak and change a little bit. Because again, as we grow, as we go, and as we grow into it, I tell women all the time, Dr. Bob and Dr. Sofie, that the journey to love is really not about finding the one. The journey to love is more about becoming the one. You see, when you become it then can come to you. That's the law of attraction. You see, a strong woman knows how to love, but a stronger woman knows who to love. That's someone that's been in the process and they've gone through the learning, the earning, and the turning. They've gone through the learning aspect of observation, experimentation, and maturation. So now, okay, I know how to love, right? A strong, but now I know who to love because it becomes a fit for me. It becomes you make it personal, because when you ask someone, what do you want? I just want a good man, or I just want a good woman. Okay, so Dr. Bob, my good woman may not look like your good woman. Sophie's good man may not look like Martha's good man. So you have to be clear and definitive and descriptive so that your words can then create your world. So, but the only way that you can get to that place of allowing your words to create your world is you have to be clear, having an understanding, knowing what it is that is a fit for you. What is your fit? What does your good man look like? What does your good woman look like? That's why I give this dating from this expanded conscious perspective, because when you understand the expanded conscious perspective, every conversation is spoken with cautious You're cautious about every word. You're conscious about every word. So those are your 3 C's. You're cautious, you're conscious about every conversation. Now you speak with purpose because you don't, the expanded consciousness is whatever you put your mind to and you put your mind on, that's what expands. So if I put my mind to, or if I put my mind on what's missing, then that's what's going to expand. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a husband. I don't have a wife. I don't have a fiance. Well, that's what's going to keep expanding because that's where your mind is. But if you flip that and change that to, I am now focusing on what my intentions are as it relates to what I intend to create. Big difference. So the intention has all to do with the attention. Where is your attention shaping? How is your attention shaping your intention? So wherever the attention goes, that's where the intention flows. And that's the vibe or the vibratory frequency that you'll be able to connect and to create with. So it's all about creating what you plan to create up here. And I feel like as you go through those modules of learning, you learn yourself, you understand yourself, and then you get to that place of turning away from some things because now you realize, been there, done that, doesn't work for me. That is just not, it may work for you, but doesn't work for me because you understand yourself. Dr. Sofie, I can see your face. I can see you ready to jump in there. I know there's something you got to say. I can see it's written all over your face.
Sophie, your turn. Go.
No, I was just listening because it's very aligned. I actually wrote about attention, intention, and it's a very deep subject. And people, you might have said it now, but the depth of it really makes the quality and standards that we live by, because intention creates meaning, and where thought goes is where the energy goes to. So whatever we are giving attention and prioritizing is what's going to magnify. So I was in a very alignment with everything that you actually, is that Lulu mentioned? Lulu's agreeing with me. And Lulu wanted to be on this show. She's like, I'm not messing out. This is my relationship with my daddy. She made her presence. Well, hello, Lulu.
Made it known and felt.
Yeah, so no, I totally agree. I had a question on the title of your book. You mentioned Love Was First. Can you tell us a little bit of the inspiration of why did you choose that title, and what does it really represent in your manuscript as a whole in general?
Well, there's a concept of lust at first sight, which most people are very, very, very aware of. And then there's the concept of love at first sight, which they even have a television show about that now. People are getting married and they've made a show off of television, a reality show of two couples coming together, immediately getting married. They call it love at first sight. So I wanted to go deeper from the standpoint of a deeper conscious meaning and dig deeper, having a deeper conscious feeling, not just the meaning, but a deeper conscious feeling so that people could interpret the real key essence of seeing through someone to get to someone. So, we have become very superficial as it relates to what a person drives, what a person wears, where a person lives, what a person's occupation is, and so that's the surface. But we rarely get beyond the surface to the sustenance so that we can see what's deep down on the inside. So we are all spiritual beings which have this earthly existence and this earthly experience. And so I wanted people to begin to dig deeper, to go to the spirit of a person, because I feel like there's something dynamic that can truly happen when two spirits really resonate with each other, because relationships can make or break you. But the challenge is figuring out how do you align yourself with someone who resonates with your spirit. And so that's what Love at First Spirit deals with. But it's a book and then it's a workbook. So the workbook, just like I told you about the 3 modules that we talked about, the workbook also has 3 modules because the first 7 days you're learning about lust at first sight. The next 7 days you're learning about love at first sight. But ultimately, I want to get you to the place of learning about love at first spirit. So what I do is I take you on 3 challenges. The first challenge is what we call a prep challenge. That's the first 7 days. I'm prepping you for what is to come so that you can receive it in your spirit. You've already gotten it through the book. You've gotten the book. So now my voice is ringing in your ear. So I'm prepping you, right? And then the next 7 days, I'm pepping you. So we go from prepping you. Now you get this pep talk because my voice is still ringing in your ear for what you read in the book. Now you're in the workbook and you're getting this pep talk like he's speaking to me. Oh my God. He's challenging me. So, during the prep process, we're learning about lust at first sight. I'm dealing with you. And then during the pep process or the pep challenge, we're having this dialogue between each other, right? You're hearing my voice, you're reading the words, you're getting an understanding of, why do I keep picking the same type of guys over and over, just dressed differently, but I still pick the same type of guy. So I take you back and I'm now I'm untangling all of these layers. We're pulling all these layers off. Then the last part of the 7 days, we get you to the challenge of the step challenge. So we go from the prep challenge to the pep challenge to the step challenge. The step challenge is you are now becoming it and you are starting to walk it out. It's you. Every step you take, you're becoming it now. You're starting to look at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, I am wonderful. I am awesome. I am beautiful. I am amazing. I am special. Because ultimately, I get people to this place of understanding that they are special orders. Now, when I say special orders, what does that mean? Well, good questions, you guys. I'm glad you asked me. I'll tell you. So here's what it means. This is what it means. It means, well, let's say, Dr. Sofie, you go into a Wendy's tonight, and you tell the person behind the counter, I want my meat medium rare. I want my buns toasted. I want grilled onions. Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, and you saying, I want Swiss cheese, not American cheese. I want Swiss cheese. And they'll say something to you like, oh, you want a special order. And you're going to say, yes. And then she's going to come back and say, okay, that's going to take a little longer and it's going to cost a little more. So they ask you to move over to the side and you wait. Everybody else is coming up, ordering the same hamburger, but theirs is not a special order. They're getting their orders and they're going out. They're getting their orders and they're going out. And you're still waiting. And you were willing to wait a little longer. You're willing to pay a little bit more because of the amenities that you wanted. That was a little extra than normal.
It's funny because usually it is that case with me, but not because it's the meat. It's because I don't eat meat. And I'm mostly vegetarian. I eat fish once in a while, and everything I do takes a little bit longer.
Takes a little longer, right? So this is good, Sofie, because we talked earlier about how everything parallels, and this is well, it parallels because when your order finally comes, you know what? It's been tailor-made just for you. Not only has it been tailor-made just for you, it's fresh. Everybody else got their orders. Theirs was just already the one sitting and they went. See, that's the difference between someone who compromises and someone who's willing to wait. That's the difference between someone who knows what they want and someone who will just take what they get. Do you understand my point?
Beautiful.
So yours was tailor-made for you and it was fresh. And this is the place that I'm getting women once they finish this 21-day challenge. I want them to that place where they understand what's tailor-made for them, and they're not just going to take what's been given. They want it to be tailor-made, and they want it to be fresh. That's the creating what they want, and it's expanding because they now are not focusing on what's missing. They are now focusing on what they intend to create.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually very important because you mentioned about that reality TV show, and we see a lot of these. Another one that comes to mind is The Bachelor and Bachelorette.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on all these different reality TV shows, and how has it affected the psyche of people?
Of our society, the whole society.
I mean, I think that you can also throw into that hat as well with the reality shows, with the dating reality shows. Let's throw into dating apps. I mean, because that's where we are too. There's so many dating apps that we can also throw. It's what I call these modern day dilemmas. Times have changed, and so since times have changed, people have to progress, to where we are in society. But it also goes back to Dr. Bob. Even if you decide to use the apps, you still should have an idea of what's your fit, what it is that works for you, what doesn't work for you. And again, we'll go through stages again of understanding the 5 stages of dating. This is another thing that I teach. The 5 stages of dating is when you initially go out with somebody, it's not really a date. It's what we call a meet and greet. In the meet and greet process, ask all the pertinent questions that you feel you need to ask, because if I was applying for a job that you were offering, Dr. Bob, you're interviewing me to see if I'm a fit for the job. So you're asking me questions to see, and the reason you're asking me questions is because you already know what that person looks like, who you want to fill that position, right? So we should know what we want and how that person should look like, that we want to be the person that we will allow to come into our energetic space. So ask those questions to see if it's a fit. If it's not a fit, it's nothing against the other person. That doesn't mean they're wrong and I'm right. Doesn't mean they're bad and I'm good. Just means it's not a fit for me. So we can agree to disagree, and I can, respectfully say, hey, I think you're an amazing person. It's just not what I'm looking for. Again, you're not wasting a lot of time, because if you go at it and you approach it as a meet and greet, it is not a date. Because most women meet somebody today and the guy asks them out, and, oh my God, I have a date tonight. How can it be a date? You don't know this person. It's not a date. Why don't you say, let's meet and let's have a conversation? And here's the deal with the meet and greet process. It may take 2 or 3 times before we can say, okay, let's go on a date, because during that process, I need to see if we have any commonalities. I need to see if there's a connection. And then I need to see if there's any chemistry. If there are no commonalities, no connection, no chemistry, then I don't need to take the Whopper that just came off the grill, and because it's ready, they're telling me, let's go. I don't need that Whopper. That's not the one for me, right? Yeah. So we go from the meet and greet, and if it warrants, now we're going to go out on a date, then that second process is, then let's date. Let's have a date now, because I felt like it warrants it. I feel there could be this could be a candidate, and there could be some potential there. So that's the second stage of the 5 stages. But then as we are dating, then we get to that third stage, we start to discover there are some differences as it relates to how we approach to having a conversation. Okay, is that working? Differences to how we approach to maybe how we are physically. There are differences. Okay, is that working for me? So once I get the understanding of these, principles and concepts, my whole objective is so that we don't have to waste a lot of time, but the time that we have invested is worth it, because I have now taken the time to discover who the person is without just having the warm and the fuzzies and just making Google eyes and but we're not really advancing, and then I've given up my body without really knowing who I've given my body to. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And people do it all the time. And then when we get to the past the differences, then we get to that next stage, which is the independence versus the interdependence. I've been independent so long. Am I willing now to create what we call interdependence, because we can work together? That's the piece, Bob. We talked to Dr. Bob. We talked about the team aspect. Can we really now make this the team that it needs to be? So I still got to deal with the independence versus the interdependence. That's the fourth stage. But then the fifth stage is, if I can get through all of that, then I should get to that place of having that healthy, wholesome, and whole relationship. Climbing and doing that progression. So as it relates to the shows that you're talking about, I think if you approach them with a strategy, like we just talked about, as it relates to the dating apps, if there's a strategy, as we talked about, I think, it can be a friend or foe based off of how you approach it.
So in your workbook that you have for these women who obviously are coming because they have either, a setback into their relations, or how they're selecting their partners and getting the insanity result, repeating the same things, right? Are you helping them in the workbook for those who are listening right now that might be going through relationship crisis? Is it more geared to single women only, or could it be married couple that are rekindling their relationships and that could help guide them through the relationship? Is there questions that you propose that would help their mind to expand and to ask themselves, and maybe when they are either fixing the relation or looking into a new relation that they're entering, that would give them some kind of guidance?
That's a great question, Dr. Sofie. Primarily, I graduated from I used to be considered a singles empowerment coach. Okay. Because I talk primarily to singles. So I graduated into a relationship coach now, and becoming in a relationship aspect, because ultimately, all that I wanted to do was I wanted to provide a platform so that we create wholesome and healthy relationships. So every question in the workbook can be used as a tool for a single woman, but it can also be used as a tool for someone who is in a relationship, because it goes back to understanding you. And so what are some modifications that can happen with me? And then if the modifications happen with me, then iron sharpens iron. And so as I'm progressing and evolving, it stimulates a conversation to say, babe, wow, I've seen there's something different about you. What's going on? And now, a dialogue takes place. And again, because of that dialogue, we hope that now change occurs. So yes, that's a great question.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, I'm a fan. So, what we have here.
Let's see it. Let's see. Show. And hold it up, because I want to explain something there. Your timing is impeccable that you're showing that, because of the question that you just asked. You see that says one man, woman, and it says tour. Can you see that? One man, and then you see the male symbol and the female symbol, right? So Dr. Bob, you were talking about the winning formula that Coach Wooden. That's what this is all about. You see WONMAN? It says one man. So it's about women winning.
Yep.
One
Yay!
man, woman. But then that last piece says tour. It gets into the OUR. So the male and the female symbol together makes our.
I love that. The other way, Sofie. There you go. I see it. Yes.
See that? So one man, woman, our tour.
Yep.
Yay! I got my shirt.
Your Tommy was impeccable, based off of your question. I think you set me up for that.
It's all about timing, right? So that we anchor to things to remember, and it really makes it more vivid to our memory recall when we bring back the information. So yes.
Yes.
So tell us about the experience of you being an best-selling author and doing your tours. How that journey has been to you, because we had spoken to many authors who are award-winning authors, and not a lot of people do those tours. But what has been very common with your past is that you have your books and you continue to travel all around doing these seminars and tours, and that's what you're known for. So first, what made you like consistent in that approach versus, hey, this is my books and I could sell them on this platform, and everybody buys them and there you go. But you had an extra step of commitment to show up on stage all the time doing these seminars and tours. Tell us a little bit about that inspiration and the journey, and also what are your plans moving forward?
Okay, great question. I was on that tour that you just showed, which was the One Man Woman tour. The One Man Woman tour was all about filling a event center or filling an auditorium with women and entertaining, empowering, and enlightening. We wanted to entertain from the standpoint of, we had a comedian who would come out and do a comedic skit on dating and relationships.
Nice.
And then we had I had a Grammy award-winning singer who as well on the tour, and the comedian was a famous actress and comedian and singer would come out, and so she had the song that she won a Grammy on was actually a woman's national anthem. It became like a woman's national anthem. So we knew that at the end of the show, when she came out and did that, the place was just going to erupt because of the fact that women loved this song, and it was all about a woman now finally getting her man. And so what we did was we took them on these emotional highs and lows. They would cry, they would laugh, but ultimately they would be empowered. So I would come out and just make the book come alive on stage. And the reason that I decided to go that route and not just put a book on Amazon and wait for it to sell on Amazon. I mean, I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that's a bad approach or a bad route to take. It's definitely effective, and it definitely has worked for many. But for me, I went to this seminar. I went to this book seminar. She was a #1 selling author, and she was giving this seminar. She said, you have to create platforms whereby people want to buy your book. She said, now, however that platform looks for you, I don't know, but you create your platform where you create a niche and it works for you and it becomes your thing. So when I heard her say that, I was like, okay, I could put my book up and just wait for people to buy it, or I could take it to them and probably become more effective and sell a ton of books. And so I wanted to take it to them. And, after the shows, people wanted to buy the book. They wanted to meet the author. I had just made the book come alive on stage. They were now at this place of, the emotions were in a good place. They were in a conscious place to receive.
Good environment.
Yeah, you created the ambiance for it to be received. So that's why we decided to go that route. And it was effective in 2019. Moving forward, I have a new book coming out, Valentine's. Hopefully it'll be ready for Valentine's. I have a new book that we want to come out with. I'm not sure if we're going to go that route again, because other platforms have opened up with the, I'm writing for a magazine now that creates a whole new platform. And just different things, In fact, we have a documentary coming out. My business partner and I, we have a documentary coming out on Las Vegas, Dr. Bob, and COVID-19 and the closure of our city. The most iconic street in the world has been closed for business. Who would have ever thought that Las Vegas Boulevard would ever be closed, let alone one day, but almost 90 days. So all of the performers were out of work, all the entertainers out of work. And so there was no entertainment going on. There was nothing going on Las Vegas Boulevard. And so we have a documentary coming out called Closed for Business.
So what
And
would that change the name from Sin City to what?
Clone
Sleep,
City.
Sleep City, Restful City,
Right?
Repentant City. Wow, that's really interesting, and I think documentaries are very effective, and people are going to. This is like history, so it's something that is going to be very important, and in another 5-10 years, they're going to look back at those days, and those who were resilient, those who were bringing in the stories, it just brought in more community and togetherness, and the we consciousness becoming more alive and helping them to transcend all this adversity that individually they're going through, but collaboratively they are transcending together. So, and that's the answer. And those things that you're doing, such as documentaries, writing, shows, are all part of community togetherness. When we are bringing those voices out and we're letting these people share their stories, and others are thinking, they're not alone. We are in this together. And it just feels immediately more different when you feel that there's someone there and they're all holding hands together with you. That sense is really empowering for the mind and the body. So that is awesome. When is
Yeah.
that coming up? When are you thinking about the documentary coming out?
The trailer will be out in the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
We've starting the pre-buzz on next week for the trailer. All of the performers are start sending out the those who've been interviewed in the doc will start sending out to their social media our digital posters for the documentary, and then the trailer will be out in the next 2 weeks. And then our goal is to have the screening for the trailer the week of Halloween.
Interesting. And I see that I saw on your page one of the people that you were interviewing is somebody's girlfriend, and one of the people in the trailer was actually got affected by COVID, fighting for his life. And this is going to be interesting to check out.
He's on life support. He's on the ventilator. He is definitely he's had some challenges. He is fighting for his life right now.
Wow.
And so when we interviewed him, he was healthy and up and going. He's one of the DJs on the trip. He's a famous DJ.
I mean,
so,
this is real. Like, this is real,
Yeah.
happening, real time. This documentary is going to be very intriguing to many, because it's what people are really dealing with.
You and Dr. Bob, you guys will have to come to the screening. You and Dr. Bob, he's not far, so Dr. Bob, it's right up the road for you. I'll get you an invite, and Dr. Sofie, we got to make arrangements or some way for you to get to the screening.
Blessings. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're coming towards the end here, Sofie and Regi.
It will be an honor for us, say Regi Rodgers, for that. Thank you. Yes, and go ahead, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, what's your favorite quote and why?
Well, it's a quote that I use often, and it's a quote that I made up. It's my own. So it's simply this, and I think it'll encapsulate everything that we talked about tonight, and it'll tie everything in very great.
Nice.
The quote is, "My next move has to be my best move. If it's not my best move, it certainly isn't my next move."
Okay.
I love that, and
Yes.
it makes a lot of sense.
He does use that a lot, by the way. Just from the little bit that I knew, Mr. C. Regi Rodgers, he repeats that quote for himself, that others memorize it just talking to him.
I gotta drive that point home, Dr. Bob.
And here too. Now, I was going to ask you for 3 tips, but you've already given us a lot of insider information, a lot of tips and everything else. So
Well, what would 3 be the most that are, very vivid to you, that if you were to really sit with someone, a stranger, and you had 5 minutes to give them 3 tips, what would those be?
First tip that I would say is, to thine own self be true. Know yourself, be true to yourself, and don't ever shortchange yourself. Know yourself, be true to yourself, and never shortchange yourself.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important. I think if people embrace that, and I think a lot of people tend to forget about that. They don't know who they are, and and they really don't give themselves the right care. I tell people that self-care is part of that. Someone add that to it too. So yeah, those are powerful tips. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Other than, because I have it scrolling here, your
Okay.
website, and also have it in the description. So what are the ways, if they want to get a hold of you, whether to speak, to be interviewed, or for anything else, what's the
Or
best?
to order your book and
Order your
workbook.
book.
Okay. You can go to cregirogers.com. There you'll see a link for books, products, things like there on cregirogers.com. And if on Facebook, it's C Regi Rodgers, Instagram, C Regi Rodgers, and Twitter is at Regi Rodgers.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. And again, people, you can see down below, you can see it's just scrolling across. Actually, it's going from here and going this way.
Yes.
And if I might add, listen, Dr. Bob, it's been a what they call a plum pleasing pleasure to be on your show today.
By the way, I want to thank you because this is one of those last minute things. And I know that we had you scheduled later in a year, and here you are. You showed up. You're a freaking awesome trooper. And and had you been in the Marines with me, I probably would have like this is my bud. So
You would have bear hugged me, Dr. Bob.
I would have. So
Oh.
this old jarhead's going to give you an oorah.
I got it. And Sophie, I got a virtual hug for you. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
blessings, and keep shining your bright light. And we are so happy to be part of this journey together. And as each empower in their ways, it's such a beautiful gift to be connected with that kind of mission and intention in service to humanity. So we're very happy to have shared you with our platforms, because I'm sure anyone there, whether it's your nieces, it's you, it's somebody it's a marriage going a little bit rocky, just reach out. There is a lot of resources out there, and when you find successful mentors and coaches that have been proven that their process has helped many people, it's something that you really want to you want to grab and reach and pick their brain and see if you're aligned, and from there have a process and see how you can transcend your situations. There's no need to suffer. You're not alone, and there is help. It's just a matter of you giving yourself permission to open up and to reach out and know that everything in the end will work out. Amen. Amen.
Again, thank you for being on our show, and Sophie's told me so much about you, and she was absolutely spot on and more. So,
Blessings.
Thank you. You have a great co-host, and you guys, you're the yin, she's the yang, and you guys just make it work.
again, I'm really blessed. This gal on the other side of you is.
It's a blessing. It's just a blessing. All this love, you guys. I love both of you. I love everything everyone's doing. And it's just a true blessing to be surrounded with that much appreciation and gratitude. Soul expression shows generosity and kindness. When we're able to actually share that, it speaks volumes of who we are, because a lot of people are not in that space yet, or didn't get to that kind of emotional okay with even going that far. So thank you for that, and I appreciate every part and bit of it.
And again, people, go down. You'll see us scrolling, and go down into the description. Go to
and we'll have it in the comments as well. This way it'll be easy for those who are on Facebook. Actually, this is also on YouTube, so subscribe.
Subscribe. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for tuning in. And again, we want to thank our very special guest here.
Very special guest.
So
Blessings.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Blessings. Blessings.